Hi folks, hope you are doing great. I am Prabhas Sirivadana from WSO2. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the advanced authentication features available in the WSO2 Identity Server. And to be clear and set the right level of expectations, in this video, I'm not going to take you through each and every step in setting up the Identity Server. My objective is to show the capabilities of Identity Server in a pre-configured environment. So if you have any questions on the setup, how to get things done, you can join our Slack channel, ask any questions there, and link to the Slack channel and invitation to the join Slack channel, you can find it in the video description. Yeah, so let's get started. So I have a Identity Server latest version, 5.10 version. So anything I do in this particular demo, you should be able to run it on Identity Server 5.10. My server is running on cloud. It's running on AWS, in fact. So let me log into the Identity Server first. So I have pre-configured user. So this setup is deployed over a set of MySQL user stores and over an LDAP user store. If you go to user stores list, you can find all the user stores available. So the first demo, I'll show you how to do passwordless authentication with Identity Server using FIDO 2.0. So first, let's enable FIDO-based authentication to one of the service providers that I have already registered in IS. Here I am using this Guardio billing service provider. This is another web app we have deployed in cloud, which connects to Identity Server or OpenID Connect for authentication. So if you are already familiar with Identity Server, you know this setup is. So this is a service provider. And if you go to inbound authentication configuration, you can see I have already configured OpenID Connect. And to enable FIDO 2.0 passwordless authentication, so expand the local and outbound authentication configuration. And under local authentication, I can pick FIDO. Okay, so now I update the configuration. Now, anyone who wants to log into this Cardio billing application should use FIDO-based authentication. So I'm using this FIDO device. This supports FIDO 2.0. So let me plug this into the machine. Okay. Now I need to log into the self-care portal. So this is a portal that comes with the Identity Server out of the box. Let me log into that. So what you see now is a rethemed portal. Even this login page, everything is rethemed. Let me log in as a user called Daniel. Okay, so I'm logged in. Now if you go to security, and I have already registered a device already. So let me delete that one. Okay, now let me add it again. Now I need to tap on my FIDO key, and this is local authentication of the FIDO device. Okay, now I registered this device with my account. Let me give a name for this. Okay. Done. Now let me log out from the user portal. Now let's try to log into the billing service provider. This one. Now you can see, since I configured the FIDO-based authentication for this particular service provider in IS, it asks to provide the security key. So let me tap on my FIDO key. So this is not related to IS. This PIN is local authentication implemented by the FIDO device. So if you have a FIDO key like this, so this is another FIDO key which supports FIDO 2.0, which has biometric. So instead of using a PIN for the local authentication of the device, you can use your fingerprint to authenticate to this particular FIDO key. Now you can see this particular FIDO key I'm using for this example being registered with multiple users. So I need to pick which user I want to use I want to use to authenticate to this particular service provider. Now I'm logged in. So this is password authentication. I didn't enter any password, uh, just the PIN that is only for the local authentication of the FIDO device. That's the first demo I wanted to do. Next, I'll take you through how to do risk-based authentication with Identity Server. So I'll open up the same service provider, which I configured FIDO 2 before. And now go back to local and outbound authentication configuration, advanced configuration. So with the risk-based authentication demo, I want to say if the risk score of someone let's say it's more than 2, then you should use email OTP. If it is more than 5, then you should use TOTP as the second factor authentication. And if it is more than 7, then you should just log the account, right? So here to do that, we have set of scripts. If you use Identity Server before, you already know about this adapt authentication script. So all these are based on JavaScript. So our objective here is to come up with set of templates. So you don't need to do like a lot of additional tasks, maybe just change a couple of parameters and get it to work. So based on that principle, we came up with set of templates that we think will address most of the common use cases. But in case none of these address your use cases, then you can write your own script. So this is purely based on JavaScript. For this particular example, I am using this cumulative risk-based authentication script. Here, I need to engage 3 authenticators in 3 steps. First, the username and password. And second, I'm going to use email OTP. Then third, I'll use TOTP. So I need to add the authenticators we need in our login flow to these steps. Then we can change those stuff if you want, or else you can use it as it is. This will basically looking at different factors. In this particular case, a risk score will orchestrate between these authenticators. Let me expand this window. Yeah. So here you can see there's a function called call analytics. So here with the Identity Server, we also have a risk engine that is written in CD. The Identity Server itself during the login flow feeds some data or events to the risk engine. For example, if it's a first time login, then we'll feed that event to the risk engine. And also if there's a failed login attempt, we'll feed that event also to the risk engine. So it's not just the Identity Server that will feed event to the risk engine. Risk engine can get events from different other places. And there we have written some script based on the events. Ultimately, risk engine will come up with a risk score. And that risk score will once again will send back in the response to this call analytics function. So here we have the risk score. So here we check whether if the risk score is greater than 1, then we want users to authenticate with username and password and email OTP. And if it is, this is the step 3, right? So step 3, we have engaged the email OTP authenticator. Then if it is greater than 3, if the risk score is greater than 3, then we want to execute a step 3. That means whatever the authenticators in the risk, step 3 will get executed. So here we have TOTP for that. And if the risk score is greater than 7, then we block the authentication flow and send user to an error page. So we don't let the user log in if the risk score is greater than 7. So let's see how this works. Okay. Before that, I need to log into the user portal once again and register, sync my TOTP application. So here I'm using Google Authenticator as my TOTP app. Let me go back and log into the self-care portal as Daniel. Okay, go to security and Authenticator app. Now I need to scan this from my Google Authenticator application. Okay, done. Let me, I removed the account I already had. And now I'm going to scan the barcode. Okay. So now I got it scanned. Click continue. And let me type my code here. 430153. Okay, so now I have successfully synced the seed provided by Identiser with my Authenticator app. Now let me log out from here. Okay, done. Now let's try to log into the billing application. So this is the first time I'm logged into billing application, and according to the rule we have defined or the configuration we have set up, if it is the first time, then the identifier will feed an event to the risk engine sends a new device, then risk will be increased. So risk score would be greater than 1. So I need to log in with username and password plus an OTP sent to the email. So let's try to log in as Daniel. Now you can see it's asked for my email verification. So I need to log into Gmail and get the OTP. Let me log in. So I'm logging in to the Daniel's Gmail account. So here I should be able to copy the latest OTP. Okay, copy that. And now I'm logged in. So now if I log out here and try to log in again, now this is a new device. So I should be able to just log in with my username and password. Okay. So let me log out again. And now I'll try to do set of failed attempts, so that will increase the risk score. And then if the risk score goes beyond 7, Identity server should prompt me to authenticate with TOTP as well. That's another factor we set up during the configuration. Before that, I need to check whether I have enabled an account lock policy. I need to disable that, otherwise my account will will get locked before it satisfy the risk score. Login policies. Okay, I'll disable this one for the time being. I'll show you that too, how the captcha works during a failed login attempt. Now, if I go back here, now I'll try with set of incorrect passwords. Should fail. This should increase the risk score now. Okay. So this is the fourth time the incorrect login attempt. Now, if I try to log in, the risk score should be greater than 5 but less than 7. So that means I should be asked to enter the TOTP code. Yeah. Now it asks to enter the TOTP code. 985 659 892. Okay, done. So that's how the risk-based authentication works. Once again, this is just an example I showed you. If you want, you can change this policy in the way you want. You have the complete control over how you want to authenticate the users based on different factors. Next, I'll show you how to authenticate to Zoom and also do some IP-based adaptive authentication. So I have a service provider already registered to log into Zoom. Once again, connection between identity server and Zoom is via SAML. If you go here, you can see we have configured SAML there. And under local and outbound authentication configuration, if you go to advanced configuration, here also you can see I have set up a policy. So this says if your IP, if you are trying to log into Zoom from your corporate network, then you should be able to log in with just username and password. If it's outside of your corporate network, you should authenticate with your username and password plus the key OTP device. And here you can define your corporate network. So here we have defined two IP ranges for your corporate network. And we have two steps here. First step is just the username and password. Second step is the key OTP. Update. Now let's see how this works. So let's try to log into Zoom. So I get, yeah, so this is a Zoom and I click on sign in. It will redirect me to the identity server. And now you can assume my IP range is outside the corporate network. So that means I should log in with both the factors. So let me get the TOTP again. 26, get a new one. 664499. Okay, so now I'm logged in with two factors. Now let me log out from Zoom and let's change my local IP address. So here I'm using a plugin for that. Here I have set my local IP address to 192.168.1.1. So this falls under the corporate network IP range. And let me enable this one. Okay. Now if I try to log into Zoom, it should only ask the username and password, not the second factor. Yeah, just the username and password, and I'm logged in. So this is how you can do adaptive authentication based on IP address. So next, I'll show you how you can enable captcha based on the number of failed login attempts. If you go to identity providers, resident IDP, and then go to login policies, captcha for SSO, you can enable captcha always for all the logins, or else you can say enable captcha after max failed attempts, and type here the number of failed login attempts you want to have. So here this says if the number of failed attempts is 3, then you need to enable captcha for the rest of the logins. Now if I go back and try to log into Zoom again, let's try with the wrong password. 1, 2 failed attempts, 3. Now after this one you should see the captcha. Here you can see the captcha. Okay, now I should be able to log in back to Zoom. Okay. Now I'll show you how to do adaptive authentication based on different roles, and show how you can log into Salesforce with identity server. Here, once again, I have configured Salesforce as a service provider. There to we communicate with Salesforce using SAML 2.0. If you look at the inbound authentication configuration, you will see that we are using SAML here. Here we are using SAML. And let's go to local and outbound authentication configuration, advanced. Here also I have set up 2 steps. First step is just username and password. second step, we have TOTP. So the script says if the user who wants to log into Salesforce is in sales manager role, then you should ask user to log in with username and password plus TOTP. And only the users in either sales manager or sales associate role should be able to log into Salesforce. Others should not be, right? So here you can see we check whether we first authenticate the user with username and password from the first step, then find out who the user is. Then we do some claim transformation here to make sure whatever the claim we pass as a username to Salesforce is in a format that is accepted by Salesforce. That is what this code does. And after that, we check whether this user is in an allowed roles, right? That means user should be either in the sales manager role or the sales associate role. After that, we check whether user has this roles for TOTP. So that means if user is in sales manager role, then we should execute step 2. Otherwise, just ignore. Users can authenticate the system with just the authenticate in the first step, that is just username and password. Now let's see how this works. If you look at the users here, if you go to users roles list and roles, you can search for sales, and you can see sales manager and sales associate roles. If you look at the users, sales manager, you can see Jordan is part of the sales manager role. That means if Jordan wants to log into Salesforce, he should use username and password plus TOTP. And if you look at sales associate role, Sandra is part of that role. So if Sandra wants to log into Salesforce, because she is in sales associate role, she only needs to provide the username and password. So let's see how this works. Let's disable this one. We don't need this one anymore. And let's try to log into Salesforce. You get created identity server. So we have configured identity server as a trusted IDP in Salesforce. Now let's try to log in as Sandra first. Sandra is in the sales associate role, so she doesn't need to authenticate with a second factor. Now, if you look at Sandra's roles, go to settings and look at advanced user details, you can see Sandra is in the sales associate role. So something I couldn't mention. So in identity server, when you configure Salesforce as a service provider, we also have defined the sales mapping. Sorry, role mapping. If you go to Salesforce here, under role configuration, role mapping, here you can see, so Sandra has the sales associate role, it's in the corporate user store, and we have mapped that to the sales associate role in Salesforce. And the sales manager role is mapped to the sales manager role in Salesforce. So with this model, you don't need to couple your service provider roles with IDP roles. You can have independent set of IDP roles and independent set of service provider roles. And here you can map using a role mapping. So whenever identity server generates a summary response, if there's a role mapping, then identity server will add the map role to the summary response under the given attribute ID. Okay. So that's why Sandra is logged into Salesforce as a sales associate role, because this role comes with the summary response itself. Now let me log out and try to log in as Jordan. Yeah. Now, since Jordan is in the sales manager role, I also need to give my TOTP code 779223. No, Jordan's one is different. It's 9. Okay. Need to wait a few seconds. Okay. 543412. So Jordan also has his own TOTP app registered under his user profile. So now if you go to settings, advanced user details, you will see Jordan is in sales manager role. Okay, so now I'll show you some of the analytics associated with the identity server login flow. So we have another product called identity server analytics. You can download that too from our website. And identity server is connected to that. So we push all the events from identity server to our identity analytics server. And from there, you can build your own dashboard. So it comes with a set of dashboards, but if you want, you can create your own ones as well. Let me log into the analytics dashboard. Login as John. And here you can see a set of dashboard. This is in fact a custom dashboard. I created, it doesn't come by default. Let me delete it, and I'll show you how to create a custom dashboard as well. So these three dashboards, they do come by default with the product. Now, if I go to the overall event monitor, you will see all the login attempts, local login attempts, federated login attempts, and total login attempts. Uh, so here you can see local login attempts are the ones identity server directly authenticates the user, and these are related to the outbound federation. So you come to identity server and identity server redirects you to Facebook or external IDP, and then login fails. In that case, that will fall, or login fail or be successful. That will fall under this federated login attempts summary category. Then you can drill down into these login attempts. If you go to federated logins, okay, let me. You can change the period you want to look at. Let's say 6 months. Okay. So now you can see all the details, which service providers these users are logged into, and against which IDPs, and who the users are, and the number of successful login attempts and failed login attempts against each user. And you can also see the login sessions. So here it shows the length of each session, and also the number of sessions available in IES at a given moment, and also the users associated with those sessions. Then you can also configure suspicious login alerts. For example, you can define a policy saying, if a user tries to log in a system five times, and then all 5 times you fail, and then 6th time it becomes a successful login attempt, then you can generate a suspicious login alert. So if you go to suspicious login alerts here, let's change this period to, let's say, 6 months. Yeah, so you can see all the suspicious login alert events, and you can configure these to be sent to your email or SMS. And we have something similar for login session alerts too. If a given login session goes beyond some period, then identity server will generate an event. Yeah, so you can see some of the lengthy login sessions as well. Now I'll show you how you can create a custom portal using this analytics server. You go to portal and click create dashboard, and let's say login view, give some description. And so this is your dashboard, and you can add any number of widgets you want. So once again, these are the widgets that come with the product out of the box, but if you want to add your own custom ones, you can do that. Here I'll add an application filter, and also application usage over region, and maybe application traffic too. Now this shows application traffic by service provider. This shows the login attempts by service provider, and I can engage this with with the application filter and service provider. Then I can control the data rendered here. For example, now if I want to see the login attempts for this particular service provider, this graph should render there. I can change and see as well. Okay, yeah. So that is what I wanted to cover in this video. Once again, I didn't cover everything in detail, like in a step-by-step manner. I just wanted to show the capabilities of the identity server. If you have any questions, if you want to know how to do this stuff in step-by-step manner, please let us know. Please join our Slack channel and ask your questions. We can point you to the documentation, or else if you just Google search, you may be able to find out as well. Thank you very much, and hope this session is useful to you. Thank you.